Hello and welcome to the Adrienne Ross Show. Of course, I am Adrienne Ross. My last video, the video I did last night, I was rather pumped up about the situation at the Olympics, the boxing situation, where Italian Angela Carini lost her dream because of, and again, I apologize if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly. It seems like the name is Imane or Imane Khelif, who was, I said, a man. It seems so very complicated, and that's why I wanted to do a part 2 to the video. So Carini's dreams were shattered because of Khelif. In 46 seconds, Carini was devastated, and she said, I never hurt so bad in my life, because of Khelif, who had failed the opportunity to compete against women before, but now came into the Olympics. They didn't have such a rule, and so was able to go in and fight. And so everybody's been in an uproar about it, outraged about it. And I said it was absolutely outrageous. And I talked about the fact that we do have men who come into women's sports and take over. I did not refer to Khelif as transgender because I had heard that there's some kind of disorder. So first of all, let me say this. My position has not changed at all. I don't think anyone with XY chromosomes should be competing against women, period. It's dangerous, it's wrong, it's unfair, and we're seeing it happen over and over again. And even with President Biden and this revamping of Title IX, which was supposed to go into effect August 1st, all that stuff I talked about in the last video. If you didn't see it, go see it. So no, I am not backing up at all. Men should not be competing against women, which brings us to the situation with not only Khelif, but also another boxer who happened to win today, just as Khelif won yesterday. So this boxer is, let me make sure I get the name right. This boxer is Lin Yu Ting, Taiwanese. And so Khelif beats a woman on Thursday. Lin beats a woman on Friday. So I want to share with you so that we understand the backstory of this. I want to share with you the letter from the IBA, the International Boxing Association, in addressing this situation. So let's share the screen so you can take a look as well. So here's the statement from the International Boxing Association. Statement made by the International Boxing Association regarding athletes' disqualifications in World Boxing Championships 2023. Remember that I said Khelif had been denied, not been allowed to box in the World Championships in 2023. All right, as stated, the International Boxing Association feels it appropriate at this prevalent time to address recent media statements regarding those athletes, Lin Yu Ting and Imane Khelif, particularly regarding their participation in the Paris Olympic Games 2024. We wish to make the following points in these regards. On March 24, 2023, IBA disqualified athletes Lin Yu Ting and Imane Khelif from the IBA Women's World Boxing Championships, New Delhi 2023. This disqualification was a result of their failure to meet eligibility criteria for participating in the women's competition as set and laid out in the IBA regulations. This decision, made after a meticulous review, was extremely important and necessary to uphold the level of fairness and utmost integrity of the competition. Point to note, the athletes did not undergo a testosterone examination, but were subject to a separate and recognized test whereby the specifics remain confidential. So we don't know. This test conclusively indicated that both athletes did not meet the required necessary eligibility criteria and were found to have competitive advantages over other female competitors. I'll repeat that part. This test conclusively indicated that both athletes did not meet the required necessary eligibility criteria and were found to have competitive advantages over other female competitors. The decision made by IBA on the 24th of March 2023 was subsequently ratified by the IBA Board of Directors on March 25th, 2023. The official record of this decision can be accessed on the IBA website. Here, IBA Board of Directors meeting minutes. Okay, so there's the backstory about this. Apparently, the Olympics doesn't have the same standard at all. But this is what we're hearing, okay? Now, I say hearing because I don't know what's true, but this is what's likely. It's what we're hearing, and that is that Lin Yu-Ting and Imane Khelif are not necessarily trans, and I didn't use that term. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna talk about Khelif because I really am not. I'm not really familiar with either of the situations, but certainly not with Lynn's. But supposedly what I've been hearing is that Khelif has a condition called DSD, disorders of sex development syndromes, all right? So characteristics of both sexes, which medically it's complex, all right? But they're not trans, or at least, we're talking about Khelif, not trans, because Khelif has apparently always, although they have characteristics of both sexes, always been a girl and a woman. Their pictures as a child in a dress and looking like a girl, and was raised as a girl and competed against girls always. So it wasn't like a transition to anything, right? Always. However, with this disorder, whatever testing was done, not allowed to participate. And so, as I said, first of all, it's a sad situation that we even have to have this conversation, but I can't blame Khelif for how Khelif was born, okay? But I also cannot say that no matter your situation, because you've socialized as a girl, you've lived the life of a girl, you've competed against girls, even the testing that, the IBA pointed out, it showed that you have an unfair advantage over women. And despite the fact that it's a disorder, when I say fact, I don't know that any of this is a fact, but this is what we're hearing. Despite that this is supposedly a disorder and that you've always lived this life and you didn't transition, you didn't do this to get an unfair advantage, despite all of that, if a man is competing against a woman, whether we want to say biological male, however you want to say it, testing showed that you have an advantage and that you are XY. And therefore, I will not change my stance that women should not be at an unfair advantage. It's dangerous, it's unfair, and I believe it's wrong. So then there are people who are saying, well, this person's been a girl forever, right? And it's not right to do that to them. And to that, I would say it's a sad situation. But it's also a sad situation when you have women who worked hard, who trained, who deserve the moment, and it's taken away from them, even if it's from someone who's well-meaning. No person XY, we can put it that way, should be competing against women, if in fact that is the case. And we only know what they tell us, right? And what they tell us may or may not be true, but this is what we're hearing. Okay, and IBA has given their statement, and the Olympics obviously didn't have that same criteria. And as a result, Carini lost on Thursday to Khelif. And then on Friday, Lynn defeated a woman. So now we have two in this situation. And so it's unfair. And again, it is unsafe, right? And let me just let me share something with you. This is from ANSA website, and I'm just going to quote. This is from Rosario Coco, the president of the GayNet Communications Association. Said this article says there was no evidence that reports Khelif is transgender, and that it's true. It says, and here's a quote from the information we have about her. She is an intersex person who has always socialized as a woman and has a sporting history in women's competitions. Well, it shouldn't be. I'm not going to fault anyone for how they were born. I'm not going to do that. But I do take a strong stance against women. You know what? Here's the thing. You can't do everything. If you have an unfair advantage, even if you were born a certain way, you can't help that. But if you have an unfair advantage, you're just going to have to step back, and there are just certain things you should not be able to participate in, because we can't allow you to go after your dream at the expense of a whole bunch of other people's dreams and their safety. It's just not right. This is what we're looking at, not just in the Olympics, as I pointed out yesterday, but here in America, in our sports. According to this Title IX thing, Biden changed 50 years of and wiped out the history. And this is the kind of thing we better get used to hearing about it, because according to how he wants to has revamped Title IX, you don't have a leg to stand on if you feel that this is wrong, that your daughter, your niece, your grandchild, yourself, you want to compete against other women. Listen, remember that Khelif has lived the life of a girl. Again, no fault of Khelif's, right? Lived the life of a girl and then a woman. And therefore, Khelif has always, if these reports are correct, competed against other women, right? Of course, because a woman is going to compete against a woman. And so I'm saying that people like Carini and whoever Lynn beat have that same desire and that same will. They want to compete against women. You see what I'm saying? You see how this works? They want to compete against women, but testing shows that's not you. Whether that seems fair or not, they want to compete against women just as you're stepping in the ring saying you're a woman and competing against women. So I'm saying that if somebody has to step aside, it has to be the XY chromosome, whatever you want to call that. It's not fair to rob these women. But I just wanted to come back and speak on it because I wanted to give the full picture. And it's a murky situation in terms of the science of it all. But the science says male. Not your fault. And I'm fair if nothing else. So I wanted to come back and say that. But my opinion does not change in terms of the sporting events. And I'll just end with this, which is probably not popular in 2024, but I'll just say it. Honestly, I don't think women should be boxing at all. That's just my opinion. I don't think that's a woman's sport, even if it's a woman against a woman. But like I said, that's probably not popular in 2024. Call me old school. I'm just old school, but I just don't like seeing women beat up on women. And I certainly don't want to see a man beating up on a woman. All right. I just wanted to clear that up, but my position remains the same. Should not be. Should not be. All right. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're at like 15,400 and something. Let's get to 16,000. Let's keep rolling, community. All right. So that means you tell your friends. All right. God bless you. And God willing, I will see you the next time. Check you out later.